Springtime is here and summer is around the corner. It's the time when I start to alternate boots with sneakers. You know that I always try to pick the best possible quality that I can afford. And this time for a sneaker, I pick a brand that is Crown Northampton. I want to go with you through the background of the company, construction, characteristics, leathers they use, and how is my experience with these sneakers and how they look when you're wearing one. Let's start first with the background of the company. But instead of me to talking about the company, I'm gonna let Chris, the owner of Crown Northampton, to speak by himself about his own company.
My name's Chris Woodford. I'm the owner, pattern cutter and designer of Crown Northampton. So the history is quite long. It goes back over 120 years now from my great-great-grandfather who had a store in London. And he made bespoke shoes, welted shoes, what was traditionally done in Northampton actually. That passed down the generations. So that was 1908 it begun with my great-great-grandfather. He passed it to his son, who's my great-grandfather, and then my grandfather was meant to take over in London, but he ended up being enlisted to go and fight in the Second World War. There's a lot of history about that on ewoodford.com if you want to read the family's history. Is that fine? When he came back, he was unable to carry on making shoes because the shop had been bombed, is the first thing. But the second thing is most of the industry had sent all of the materials and all the goods to Northampton. So that stopped people making shoes elsewhere. It was all being made for army boots, and that was hundreds of millions, well, 50 million pairs, I think, a year is what they were getting to, which is insane. And that's what created the industry in Northampton. And then, ironically enough, 30 years from then, my father moved to, well, 25 years from then, my father moved to Northampton. He's trained in the engineering side of the business. And he ended up working in shoe factories in Northampton and starting his own brand. And his brand was called Chancery Leatherware. And that was in the 70s, and he made moccasins and mass-produced stuff. He had a few hundred staff, and he produced mainly for department stores in the UK. And as years goes by, and this is the story for a lot of Northampton, department stores are very price-driven, and you get to the point where they're buying the same similar product at a different price point, maybe a cheaper material, but at that point it's about what customers want to pay. So department stores sort of force production in China and India to compete against my father, who couldn't compete. And he ended up specialising somewhat and reducing the factory from 300 staff to 1 or 2 staff and starting again in the little unit. I kind of observed all that. So this is where I kind of get introduced to the shoe trade. My background is more, my first memories of being in my dad's bigger factories and going, this is amazing, the smells and the noise and everything else that I suppose it just ingrained it in me. And then I finished school at 16, saw the highs and lows of my father's business, and I wanted to be involved, but I wanted more control. So I learned to design, pattern cut, and make for other people, first of all, white label stuff for my father's business. And then as I got more confident, I created my own brand. Lucky enough for that to be picked up in the Japanese market, and we still distribute to Japan now. And that's half of our business. The other half of our business is what it's become, and this is again through the result of me wanting more control. I obviously know how to design and make anything. I have taste. I have my design sort of led the next part of the business, the way I design stuff, because I'm very much want to highlight the skill set of the staff and the materials that are used in all the products. So I ended up designing a range of shoes for online only. Because I already had a factory, it didn't matter if I sold 1 pair or 10 pairs or 100 pairs, I could fit them into production. That was the thought process at the time. A lot of learning since then, and that was 10 years ago. A lot of extra avenues to take down, always constantly designing, but making a decision to be a manufacturer and selling direct to consumer changed the business a lot. It's now half our business, but it means we now have to have a care team that answer lots of questions about sizing. We talk direct with people. We want to change how the world looks at buying. Rather than going to a shop and buying something off a shelf, everything we do is made to order. So if someone comes into our factory or orders online, that starts the process. We then make a shoe specifically for that individual. And if they have any questions about any of the materials, we have the answers. It's basically upscaling all the materials and everything that we can do in order for someone that's buying something to buy something at a fairer price point without all the middlemen that are involved in other businesses. So that's kind of full circle. I'm now doing what my great-great-granddad used to do, individual pairs for individual people, but for the world rather than for his little street in London. Right, so my background is basically this. It's hand welting. First of all, designing the shoes and constructing them in a different way. And it's a lot of hand stitching that comes from this old process. So this is what was Northampton. People used to do this on the streets in Northampton when there was thousands and thousands of people making shoes. Nowadays it's, well, I don't know of anyone else other than us doing this. To do this takes an awful lot of time. This is the Woodford brand. This is our sister company to Crown. This is the reinvention of my family. Crown is sneakers, Woodford is more traditional. We are doing a collaboration between the both to do a hand welted sneaker. That's in the process, but that explains a lot about this. So all those old traditions of hand stitching a welt, channeling insoles and all the technical stuff that's involved in doing a hand welted shoe, I've had to adjust and adapt for a more modern market, which is the sneaker brand. It starts with a last, and a last for us is in 3 different fittings. So this is a wider fitting, but the sneaker lasts plastic wire. So most important thing to get in someone's head is that if we were supplying everyone shoes like this, hand welted, these are thousands of pounds. If we do that, we're really reducing the market, and we want to be able to offer really nice products, really beautiful products at a fair price point. But I understand that over £500 is a lot of money. So the first process for learning from that background is the fit of a last. And for that, we get a mold. We take that mold, and that's a sole mold, like this Lactahavia sole. We take that to Springline, company 10 minutes up the road, where we designed 3 different fittings for that sole mold. And we do that so that when people are checking out the size, they can, more and more people are needing wider fit, but there's 3 fits available. Alongside that is the option to get in touch, because some people have unusual feet. A lot of people buy the wrong size shoe, and it's because they normally are buying for the width, or because they have a high arch, or because they have a high instep. And they end up buying shoes that are maybe 2 or 3 sizes too big, even a size too big, but they're doing that because of the width stops their foot getting into the shoe. And this is something we're evolving as a business. Before, when we started making shoes and selling direct online, it was, let's sell them to people, and hopefully there's as little interaction as possible, because that makes the company flow better. But as we've evolved, it's become more of, well, let's spend all the time with the customers. Let's have a customer set. Let's offer a really nice support to someone who's investing in us. It's like a collaboration rather than a sale. So if someone's buying something from us, we want it to fit, we want them to understand what it will feel like, and we want them to know that it's made here in this factory. It's not made to this extreme extent of hand stitched and hand welted, because most people can't afford a £5,000 pair of boots. Some people, more people, can afford a £400 pair of sneakers, but it needs to be £400 for a reason. It needs to be for the detail, the patterns, the leather, the construction, the staff, where it's made, where the dust bags are made, where the knives are made for the shoe. Every component in this shoe, we know where it's made, where it's tanned, and where it comes from, and the cost of it. And that is a different way of designing something. If I have a material, like a really rare material, like cordovan, for example, I know that's the best cordovan I can buy. It's Horween. I know it's beautiful, difficult to work with, technically very challenging. The skins are all very difficult to challenge, but I also know that people will understand that if I can explain it to them. And that's what my life has become. I once was a shoemaker, and now I'm a shoe explainer. So this is French bound, just like a dress shoe used to be. And it's always a nod to my past. Design is always about what we've come from. When we design a shoe to start with, the patterns, they're from what we know in the factory. I tend not to look at what the rest of the world is doing, because it's not irrelevant to me, because obviously I'm alive. I see what's available, but I often think a Gibson, like, where did that pattern come from? Originally, the Gibson comes from, well, as other people know it, a Derby, this open throat. It comes from Derby because an Earl of Derby couldn't fit into an Oxford shoe with a closed throat, so he wanted more room to fit his foot in, and that's important. That's why this exists. People in here know that, and people in here understand that about what it is they're doing. It leads the design. The second part of the design is putting in little touches like the hand stitching. It's a nod to the past, to show the skill set, to show off the material, the less joins in. I don't do any fancy stitching and things for no reason. Every stitch is for a reason. The French binding is for a reason. It's how we used to finish things in Northampton. The dogtail is very Northampton, much more dress shoe than sneaker. This particular style, the Halston style, is in between a dress shoe and a sneaker, and that is from the fit, where it's a bit more snug to the foot, down to the design, where it has the dogtail, it has the hand stitching. It's all very, very Northampton. And then it's combining that with more modern materials. Like, I'm pretty sure back in the day, they weren't using lactahavia soles that are molds from France. But it's literally sap from a tree, poured into a mould, left into water for days. All of them are kind of different. All of them kind of have little slight imperfections, but all of them make them unique. Like the leather, like this shoe, as I turn it in the light, it starts light and goes dark. It's really difficult to pair it up. They're all individual. And that's from the cordovan down to a buffalo leather, where the print on one part of the shoe is totally different to the other. It all has to be paired up. And that's where the skill set of a Northampton maker is different to a mass-produced. I'm not trying to mass-produce anything. In fact, if I had an order for 1,000 pairs, I couldn't make it. We make a few hundred pairs a month, and they have to be unique and individual. And that's kind of where I'm coming from, because I want people to buy something, they go, I can't get that anywhere else. And I want people to understand the reason why they can't get that from anywhere else. And it comes from being the owner, and it comes from the highs and lows of my history's past, of having to learn how to pattern, cut and design, and understanding what matters, which is people like Will that have learnt something totally unique that no one else I know that's doing this. And he's learnt that because it should be more than a factory job. It should be multi-skilled. People have their own keys now of trying to adapt the way that a factory life should be. So lads and lasses that work here, some come in at 4 in the morning and leave at midday. As long as they're doing a certain amount of hours a week, they can come and go as they please. And that's making a factory work more viable for the modern age, because mass production in the UK is tricky. So you have to twist it and turn it to make it viable. And that's where all the design, all the skill and all my staff, that's what we all work towards. So materials are just as important as the people making it. And they're important because of the tanneries they're from and buying the very best. If I'm saying I'm using the best materials, that means I have to stand by it and prove it. So you'll see lots of names of tanneries or areas. For example, I know this is unusual, but we use a lot of baby calf in our Halston calf sneakers. It's an unusual material, it's veg tan. But I know this is from the Swiss-French border, and I know it's drum tanned. I know it's unusual, I know it's expensive, I know it's difficult to work with, but also I know I can't find any better calf than that. It's veg tan. Veg tan means that the raw material has to start off cleaner and smoother, because veg tan tends not to hide any imperfections. We tend in all our leathers, whether it's a veg tan leather or a box calf leather, we tend to make them as natural as we possibly can, and that's really tricky, especially with a white sneaker, which I know is popular. But white sneakers for us started out with a traditional Northampton box calf leather. Most sneakers you'll see in the world will be a side leather, or there'll be a soft leather of some sort, because people want them to be flexible, as this is. My point was shining a light on Northampton. And Northampton is best known for its box calf leather in dress shoes, which is how Northampton is renowned. I went to the same tanneries as all the other factories in Northampton, bought a really nice box calf in white and had it slightly softened so it doesn't feel quite as hard. It is still firmer than you'll get in a standard like sneaker off a shelf, and it is a bit more unique, but it's two kind of designs. It's two sectors really. There's the Overston section, or the classic section as I call it. First of all, designed using those Northamptonshire materials. Really minimal in design, but the leather itself needs to stand up. It does have it does have a sponge top line, but that's in order to give you support on the inside, and I didn't want to show that on the outside, so I use a slightly thicker leather, so it's 1.2 to 1.4 and fairly firm like a dress sneaker. When you go up a scale in quality but more rarity, things I use are rare, like a bison or buffalo, like this leather here. It's a rare material. Lots of people use it and they put a stamp on it to uniform it so they get a better cutting coefficient. Bison or buffalo looks a certain way. It comes in and one part of the skin looks totally different to the next. Really difficult to mass produce that stuff that way, because imagine if you're in a shop anywhere in the world, people want their shoes to look identical in each store, whereas I want them to be totally unique. So I'm always looking for leathers that are different, technically challenging to tan, but also that I can get to, go in and see what they are. And that actually leads a lot to the different materials we use. So I use a lot of cordovan, especially Horween shell cordovan. Challenging to work with, really difficult to get hold of. I have to order it a year in advance. We do limited editions every 3 months. And for that, we've sort of planned a year in advance. It's expensive. I have to buy a certain amount of shells. Which is the way the skin comes. I never have an idea of how many of what size shell we're doing. So I have to buy in 50 shells and I have to sit and say there's a cost factor to that. Really rare. And you really have to have faith in people understanding what you're doing and buying into what you're doing, and also have faith in that we can achieve what we're saying we're going to achieve, which is like a sneaker backed up by all the other factors. So best upper materials, you can see there's buffalo, there's naked kudu, there's cordovan, there's baby calf, there's Scottish red deer, there's loads of unique. I've traveled to the tanneries and seen them all, and they're all really unique and really special. But that is just the start of the materials, because it's just the upper. Just as important is what you line it with and what you put your foot onto. So that leads to something like this. This is a cordovan sneaker cut in half. You see that?
Yes.
So this starts with cordovan leather. Best cordovan leather I can find from Horween. Second is the lining. I use veg tan lining, which this lining costs as much as most upper leathers. But it is just beautiful. It's clean. It's perfect. But the reason I've chosen it is because it has the right texture and the right density, the right fibre structure to mould to your foot alongside the cordovan. The same reason I use a big, thick veg tan insole, the same reason I use cork like you get in a dress shoe, the same reason I use the lacta heavier sole. It's all to work together. Lots of companies say, oh, look at this amazing upper material. That's fine, but ask what else is used in a shoe. What else is used in our shoes are really unusual things, like oak bark. So within this shoe, does that look okay?
Yes.
Within this shoe, you have a toe puff and you have a stiffener. Now, if you were mass producing something, you would use a plastic or a synthetic. For us, more important, and this definitely comes from the dress shoe and me designing and making dress shoes for years and hand welting stuff, is oak bark leather. And that's what we use for the toe puff. And oak bark tanned leather is really important to me. It's English calf. When we're at the tannery visiting them, it takes a year to tan. It's literally calf leather in a pit of water with oak bark sprinkled in between and another layer of calf leather. And it creates a skin of leather that takes a year to tan. The oak bark takes 3 years to dry out. The trees are 20 years old, cut down by and stripped by hand to be sent to the tannery. All that stuff adds cost to a product, but it adds a story and it adds something that matters. The people in the tannery matter as much as the people here cutting and making the shoes. So we end up with a skin of oak bark leather, and different parts of it are used for different parts of the shoe. So the toe puff that you see here on a wooden last, this is from the belly of the animal because it has the right fibre structure to mould to the shape of the last using water, and then it sits to that shape. It also, because it's the belly, allows for the shoe to move a bit more in time. So it allows it to fit to the foot. When you buy a shoe, if it doesn't fit by a couple of mil, that isn't a problem. It will move and it will evolve, just like the other components all working together to mould to the foot. For the stiffener, for the back of the shoe, we use the shoulder of the animal, which is a bigger, more dense part. Should still mould to the foot, but will be a bit more structured and thus hold its shape for a lot longer. Materials are really important to us. So all our shoes at Crown Northampton are available for a resole. All of them either come in a gum, a black or a white. Doesn't matter on the style, they all have 3 different options of sole colour. We get shoes back in all sorts of different states. This is actually my own pair, I used to walk the dog, but this is about due for a resole. The reason we can resole, first of all, is the quality of materials. This is when I get past the mud, a Cavalier Chrome Excel in ink. Never looked after. All I've done is walk the dog and I tested them in this. But they come back for resole. The reason they're available to be resold is because of the quality of the leather, as I say. The leather itself has a tight grain structure, and the top of it doesn't have like a pigmentation like a cheap leather you get on it. It allows us to stick the sole as well as stitch it around the side. The reason that's important is when we take the sole off the shoe, it doesn't take off the top surface of the leather, and that's because the leather is a better quality. The second thing that means the sole isn't going to fall off is obviously the stitching. This is done by the sidewall stitcher. And when the shoe comes back, this is one that's just come back recently. We were taking the sole off. You can see the cork in the bottom there. This is a baby calf shoe, a little tiny baby calf. The sole has been taken off this, so it would have sat like this, and it would take a little bit of heat and a little bit of prying to pull the sole off after taking the stitching off the side. You peel off the stitching, then you have the finished sole. There's lots of other things we can do. Occasionally we get shoes back where people have worn them and worn them and worn them, like after 5 years, say. This heel counter, we purposely doubled up the thickness at the back of the shoe. The reason of this counter is so that it actually wears better. Once you get through that lining, there's still another lining underneath it. Lots of people send them back for a refurbishment as well as a resole. And basically a lot of that is touching it up and making sure the binding's all not split, and if it needs re-hand stitching, we can re-hand stitch it. But another thing is this inside lining. If that's worn through, we can replace that. We can take the insole out of it, put it on a moulder and take the stiffener out the back, and then reattach one of these and then put it all back together again. So it ends up looking just as it did when you bought it, but patinaed to your foot. So the mould will still go back. When you get it back, it will still feel like a glove, because you would have been wearing and putting your foot on this insole behind it, just here. You'll be putting your foot and pressurizing this. So when we get shoes back that are 3 or 4 years old, on here, you can see the actual indentation of where people's feet have been. And that goes back exactly the same. It's just the upper we're normally adjusting and putting a new sole on the bottom. And when you get a new sole, it's just a matter of repeating the process when we originally put it on. So it's a matter of roughing the side of the shoe, cementing the side of the shoe and cementing the sole so that when we reattach it, it goes back where it was and we restitch it. And that's really important because it means I've spent a lot of money investing in leather that will last for 20 or 30 years. It's pretty useless if the sole wears out after 2 years. So the sole, replaceable. We've had some shoes back that are having their 3rd or 4th resole. It means they've lasted 10 years, basically. Sometimes I've even changed the colour of their sole from gum to black. It's a lot of what we do, and a lot of what we've evolved to is listening to customers, having a relationship with customers, and advising them what can and can't be done. So resole is a really important part of what we do. We don't sign off a shoe like this unless it's proper, unless it's really done right. And that's really important to have a good resole. And we do that for whether it's a desert boot or a jazz shoe or a sneaker. So the process for buying one of these, or any of these sneakers or shoes that we make, is place your order online. It does take 9 to 12 weeks to make, but that's because it doesn't exist until you place the order. Like I always say, it is a collaboration. You've seen something you like, you want to buy it, you place the order. The most important thing for us is to get the size right, which hopefully we've covered. Once you get the size right, whether that's talking to an advisor or using our guide, the next process is for us to make it for you. And there's a process where you'll be informed of each stage. After 2 weeks, we normally leave like a 2-week grace whilst we're cutting lots of other things and making other orders for you to say, actually, can I have a gum coloured sole? That's fine, that's all changeable. And in 2 weeks, your shoe will be cut. In 4 weeks, it's been machined, it's been through the clicking room. And in 6 weeks, it's ready for the lasting and making room. And the 6 to 12 weeks from that point to the end varies a lot. Well, the reason we have a gap of 6 weeks there is if we find an imperfection in the shoe, after 7 weeks in the lasting room, we've got time to go back to the start and remake it so that your shoe gets to you before 12 weeks. That's the most important thing. When you get the shoe, you get a couple of pairs of laces to look after it. You get a key fob in the same leather as the shoe that you're buying, and you get access. This is quite important. This is a nice. The nice thing for me is I changed kind of how I do business when I started selling online. It used to be about getting shoes into a shop. Now it's about, well, I've never had the highs of employing someone and getting them taught into how to hand last something and then going, look what I've made. That's nicer than anything I've ever sold. I want more. So my priority is employing people. So I want it to grow, and I want it to grow steadily, and I want people to understand what it is that they're buying. So it's buying a shoe because you want a shoe, but it's buying into something that matters as much to me. So I'm spending a lot of time investing in the materials as we've spoken about and what it is you're going to get. that's the process of making it. That's the process of getting it. So what do you get with it? You get
The result now.
yeah. Yeah, and the thing that's also important to us is that if you spent a lot of money on something and we've done a really good job of making it for you, you want it to last and then you want it to be resold. The process of that is just getting back in touch with us, sending the shoe back, and resoles take 4 to 6 weeks usually. And we can update you if you're really worried, if there's something, if the hand stitching is broken or something and you don't know if it is repairable or not. The point of what we're doing is that we want the communication. So I've worn these for 4 years. I want them to get a resole, but also this is split, or I caught this when I was doing something else, or I need new laces. That's fine. Just let us know. Just talk to us about what you want to do. And we try and cater for everything. We want the process to be as easy as possible because we want to be able to make the right size in the right leather for someone that's happy to wait 12 weeks, that appreciates what we're trying to do.
Chris, in terms of the result, if we tired to use the same color of the sole, we can pick different sole, different color. If they're coming in white, originally we can replace for gum.
Yeah, if you've worn this for 2 years, you like the look, and then thought, actually, the white isn't my style anymore, I'm going to use a gum sole or a black sole, this can be replaced with the gum sole. So when we resole it, we'll unstitch it, take it all away, reapply this one, hand stitch it, well, sidewall stitch it back in place, and then you have a totally different looking shoe. But most people end up getting their fit right, buying one pair, and we get 40% repeat business. So those people are obviously buying a shoe and going, now I'm going to buy the lower cut version, or I'm going to buy the Overson version, or I'm going to buy a desert boot. It's kind of a relationship that we want to be there with you and help you get exactly what it is you want. So if you want to change your sole color, yeah, why not? So the future, let me go on that. So there's different futures depending on there's the future of the shoes and the designs and the models that we make. Most modern was a Rambler, which is basically the Everton shoe. And I went walking in my dog and slipped down a muddy slope and thought, how can I make this more wearable outside with a dog? And that's where this came from. It just has speed hooks and D-rings, and it has a Vibram sole, which has a little bit more grip to it than Lacta Heavy. It's a different kind of feel, but it's fine for rambling, which is why we call it the Rambler. It's not a walking boot, it's a rambling boot, but it's just how we evolve. Product evolves from what I see when I'm traveling or when we have a conversation. There's if I go to a tannery and I find a nice leather, like Dearborn, which is a really soft, unusual, thick leather that's suitable for an unlined shoe, that leads the purchase of the leather. The second part of that is, what am I going to do with it? And that means that's a very good example because it will sit in the factory for a few months whilst I ask guys in the factory what it is we could do with this leather, thinking of doing something unlined. Because the important thing about being made in Northampton is it also gives me access to 20 people, that third or fourth generation shoemaking. They have as much knowledge as I do. So when I'm designing something and making something, they'll say, have you tried this? Or have you tried splitting this or doing this? And the shoe evolves that way, not from a drawing where I go, that would sell. I have no idea if it would sell because it's down to taste. People could like the look of that or not like the look of it. That's totally up to them. What I can do is that in the best construction I can possibly do. And that's where it involves the materials from the tanneries where I found the leather, thought about what I'm going to do with it, and then involved all the people in the factory that have the experience to help me create something like this. So evolving from a product perspective, it's ongoing. Coming in the next 2 months, we've done a collaboration between a hand-welted sneaker and Crown, and it's going to be really cool. We can only make 1 or 2 a month, but it is the pinnacle of what we can do. It's highlighting skill set. And the reason I do it, and the reason that the future matters as much as product as people, is that if that works and it sells, it allows me to train them how to hand welt like people were doing 100 years ago. It allows me to keep a craft going, allows a craft to survive. That allows me to employ people. If we end up selling 10 of these hand-stitched sneakers or 10 of these hand-stitched shoes or 100 more of these a month, that's what I want to happen because it allows me to employ people in the local community and train them in an academy that we built literally opposite this unit where people are learning how to craft just like this. So that the future is loads of new, funky, fun ideas, sometimes even led by customers saying, I like the look of this leather, or have you ever thought of doing this? Or that leads a lot of things, but it's a collaboration of customer, tannery, other material sole manufacturers, and the people in the factory, and that's why they're really, really important to me. And it will just naturally evolve. That's the future for us. Hopefully, growing and employing more people, and hopefully using loads more amazing leathers.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
It's okay.
After all explanation by Chris, I think not many things need to be added in relation to the characteristics and construction of these sneakers, which I think is like I like to go through always. I am amazed with the passion that he has about his product, and in my opinion, this something is really an artisan product. It's really an artisan product made using the highest material, the highest possible material that you can find. Is amazing. Of course, they translate in the price. The price is a little bit stiff, but these sneakers are like shoes, and they are meant to provide a long service. It has really nice lifespan, and the fact that are resolvable is even better. But instead of keeping about the goods of this, the good things about these sneakers, I want to share my my experience with these sneakers, and they're gonna tell you the history of this collection. For me, these are dress sneakers. It's simple like that. Are dress sneakers are sneakers that you can use in different occasions and dress up or dress down, and you're gonna have a good style using these sneakers. In terms of how is the evolution of this collection, all start here with this round. These are Chrome Axel. Overstone is the model. Are 12D. That are the size. As you've seen, I use shoe trees to keep the shape of the sneakers. Because I only wear sneakers in summer. Otherwise, I wear boots or shoes, depend the situation. It was at work or where I doing. I have different type of boot that I use for different things. For gardening, for wash the car, for go in the countryside. But always wear leather shoes because having a condition in my skin that prevent me to use for long period of time synthetic materials that cause cause ulcers on my skin and my feet skin. But well, that's let's put aside. Anyway, I bought this in 2021 after a long research. At the beginning was common project my goal, or they were looking for, because everyone was in everywhere there was common project as the best quality. But doing my research, they come across Crown Northampton, and in the way they produce the materials they use, there was at that time was really hooked by the Chrome Axel leather, and then find a brown Chrome Axel leather sneakers was for me the best of the best at that time. Then in 2021 I ordered this, and I was since then I use this in summertime when I'm on holidays. Are really comfortable sneakers. At the beginning was because it's leather, and this kind of leather at the beginning take a little bit time, the break-in period, but it's not that bad. And let's see the characteristics of the Overstone really. These are minimalistic dress sneakers. Padded heel, padded collar, the stitching here in the heel. This gun sole. This I've been wearing every summer since 2021, and you see the degradation of the abrasion of the heel of the sole is minimal. Really, it's not much. You can see how they are, and the flexure points are a little bit dry and start to be mark here. Maybe it's the time to replace the sole. This has an insole, a padded insole, okay, that give a lot of comfort, are very comfortable. The lining of the sneaker is leather, are padded tongue as well, are very, very comfortable sneakers and really comfortable. I've been walking a lot with this and never have a problem. What I need to do is give some care to the leather itself. But these are very comfortable, and you can see after all of these years, there is no loose threads, there is no falling apart, there is no detach the sole. That's mean using normally. A couple of times was they got me the rain. I was really damp and let dry outside, and no problem. And look at this, look nice, really. No, there is no problem. I never changed the laces, but they have spare laces, but it wasn't necessary. They hold really well, really well. This grabbed me and hold me my feet really well. This is a really nice design in terms of the how they adapt to your feet. Then a couple of years later, I bought the white one. They have a shoe tree. This is synthetic because this is synthetic. Yeah, this is not the boot. It's synthetic shoe trees and travel shoe trees. And look at how hold the shape. I'm looking for white sneakers to, to dress more dressier sneakers than the fact that this works really well for me make me look for more sneakers. In matter of fact, again, has the same characteristic of this, and there is no loose threads. There is nothing, no detach the sole from the leather. Are holding really well. These are the Overstone, but new pair is the Harleston. The Harleston is a step up on this Overstone. What is difference? First, back tan leather. Okay, these are off-white. These are white, but these are off-white. Has no metal eyelets. The laces are thinner than the Overstone. To me, are more fashionable. The sole is like the heavy, which is a natural rubber sole, which give even more comfort. You have the insole. We don't need this padded insole, because having this give a really good comfort in your feet. Has a French binding, which the other is padded. It's a really nice in terms. I really like more as a fashionable staple, this minimalistic these sneakers. I really like more. Of course, now they have the difference, but what is the main difference is the price. This costs 300. This costs 410 pounds, and this, because our Chromax sells 310 pounds. There are different, and I think they're worth it. They are worth it, of course, but I think this maybe is the need to be the first choice, because I bought of this, but I have this. When I seen this in the website, I say, okay, these looks more fashionable, more stylish, for say better, looks more stylish, far more stylish. And in matter of fact, there's a lot of people has complimented these sneakers. Many people complimented this. These are not that much, but this, yes, has more compliments of these sneakers than the Overstone. The Harleston has really good looking sneakers. But now let's see what you think. I'm gonna try on these sneakers, these two pairs, the two whites, of white and white, and see what you're thinking about it. And the other thing that I forget, the Crown Northampton, they produce with the excess of leather or leftover of leather, they produce, for example, wallets, key rings, and a really good price. And it's the same leather they use for the sneakers, which is top notch. To my experience, are really good sneakers. Are expensive? Yes, but if you're thinking about it, the service that provide, the materials that use, the background of this company, the fact that are made to order, that's mean you pick your pair and you can customize. You want different sole, you want white. Even when you resole, you can because I'm bored. Use white sole exchange for gum sole or black sole, and you can do it. This is something that not other companies do this. I think Gorel do the Resole as well, but I'm not sure if we offer this kind of service. I'm really hooked by these sneakers. Really hooked. I think they are worth it. If you're looking for minimalistic dress sneakers, I think this could be a good option. Let's see how it fit and my final thoughts. See you. This how fit this Overstone. This model is Overstone in white. See the side, the back, the other side, slim fit chinos. It's difficult to wear with denim, with subtle denim, because the bleeding of the indigo dye the sneakers, and it's very difficult to remove it. That's why I have many spare of laces to replace as necessary, and a cleaning with the special products from Sapphire. But these are really nice, and the fact that can be resoled is even better. Let's try the Harleston now and see which one you like it more. Okay, these are the Harleston. Okay, that's the side, white sneakers, very nice as the others. The back, the other side. Let's go back to the front. The difference are minimal. The quality of the construction is the same. I think whether you pick one of the other, you're never gonna make a mistake. Now, let's go for the final thoughts and tell you what I really think of these sneakers. It's the time of the final thoughts. Why I think these are one of the best or the best sneakers in the market? There are two main reasons. First one, are made of leather and one of the best leathers in the market. Second, are resolvable or you can refurbish with these sneakers. And third, are minimalist. All of that put in the place that I think is one of the best. Not only that, on the top of this is the weight of this, the construction, how it's done. I can compare the construction of the sneakers with the same level of detail that they use to build the Pacific Northwest, the shoes in Northampton, the boots of the other, the good boot makers. They use, and I see with my own eyes, the best quality they can find for construct these sneakers. And not only that, the passion that put Chris in his company and the way they are constructed and produce it, that made me think that the quality is there, are handmade and made to order. Then you choose your pair and they start to construct or build your sneaker, are not mass produced, which gives that artisan background. That is something very important. Crown Northampton got me. The question is, what do you think about the Crown Northampton? See you in the next.